just fine, but obviously we need to configure the close this down and just exit Nes. Becky, can you see me online? No, don't worry, it's on pretty private, that's what's going on. I don't know why it does that. Yes. Hello, who have we got here on this Saturday night? Uh Fine British summer night. So got someone watching at the moment. Just gonna wait for a few more people. But for the person there who is watching, you probably notice I'm not really uploading much lately, and that's reason for that is because I've been doing something for someone in the background, and it's been very, very time consuming. On top of that, I'm kind of doing some decorating. I'm painting miniatures as usual. I'm trying to convert spare room into a gaming room at some point very slowly. My son wanted to join in with that, but I thought to myself, he's not going to be coming up anytime soon because that's the way things are. So I just crack on with it myself, and you know. So for war gamers out there, today's purchase was Blood Bowl Second Season Edition. So for those of you who knows this for the say Xbox or PlayStation game, yes, of course there is. To traditional Games Workshop, and this is second edition. Originally came out in the 90s. I vaguely remember it when I first got into Games Workshop. But anyways, full of happiness and goodness in here. So, yeah, my model collecting is getting out of hand. Probably, if you listen to the right person, it will likely because I've got some sort of I don't know, diagnosis, so I don't know. There are some very odd rumors about me, by a particular asshole, actually, dare I say it. But yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. So, who have we got here tonight? And yeah, something else I've been doing. Like I said, I'm sort of decorating this place. Lovely place we got. And if any of you's here, who's been listening to the story about these neighbours we got, very awesome stuff. Community actually got together the other day with somebody from the council, and they're looking at closing down the premises for drug dealing, that type of thing going on. No one wants them here, so yeah, that's another barrier, of course, why sometimes my videos are very sporadic. Because I don't have peace and quiet here with Loudmouth a couple of doors down shouting like he was earlier on. If it's not that, it's a damn dog. Um, the other night we was under siege. Him and his heroin uh, customers were smashing the windows, but all that's been dealt with and stuff. Hello, Wesley. How you doing? So yeah, very random stuff. But if you're new to the stream, you haven't been to one of my streams before, it's not necessarily about retro gaming, but a bit of chit chat. And like I say, we was under siege the other night, and it prevented me from doing some videos. And I'm also doing a bit of work in the background, helping people out. That is, which is a service I do offer. So if there's anything you're struggling with, just message me through Facebook, and we come to an arrangement. And what I do is use this program you can see here on my desktop, Team Viewer. And what this does is connects to your computer, and that's the tool I've been using for the last couple of days to connect with someone. So yeah, if there's anything anyone's struggling with, do let me know, and we can do something about that. Of course, if you want something like retrofe or attract mode, anything retroarch, and you can't do it, just let me know. And won't be tonight though. Like I said, I've been doing this for someone most of the day today, and it's well as yesterday. So gotta say, I'm a little bit shagged out at the moment. I need a break from it. But I thought to myself, let's do a live stream. I'm not going to be doing a video today, because like I said, I've been fairly busy. And these asshole neighbours of ours has just been assholes as usual, but they're being dealt with in their own way. And we're hoping they're going to be evicted soon for the nuisance they're causing the community. So once that scum's gone, business as usual. My videos 2 or 3 times a day. I'm watching your videos to help me set up the Raspberry Pi, either one or the other. Really helpful, and I'm almost done with it. Awesome video, and it's working. Hey, no problems, Wesley. If that's Raspberry Pi you mean, I've actually got the Raspberry Pi 400, and I love that thing. Probably not aware, I've not seen you in a stream before, but I'm a big microcomputer fan, Spectrum, Commodore, that type of thing. So when the 400s came out, of course, everyone geeky and nerdy enough, like myself, thought, yeah, man, gotta have some of that. And that's what happens. So yeah, to be fair, I don't really do much on Raspberry Pi. I've got a playlist for Raspberry Pi setups, but it's not one of the systems platforms I do as much as I should. So, which Raspberry Pi is it you've got, Wesley? Do you have a Model 5, the latest one? I've not really heard much about them. First time watching a stream. Hello, Gaming Rules. Good to see you here. So yeah, Raspberry Pi 5. For the last few models, there's normally been a bit of a buzz around it. Well, of course, especially the first two. I couldn't believe it with the Raspberry Pi when it was a thing. I always remember I was buying a ZX Spectrum when I lived back in Bristol from what turned out to be a policeman. But anyways, that's a random story. But I always remember that day because he was telling me about this upcoming computer, which is the size of a credit card. Probably going back 15, 16 years ago, I should think. And at the time, I was like, whoa, yeah, sounds pretty cool. When you told me about it, and of course, today Raspberry Pi is what it is, and it's a big boost for the British computer industry, I suppose. Bit like the ZX Spectrum was in the 80s for the British computing boom. Okay, 400, I think I'm getting 5. Could you help? It gets a black screen. Batocera gets a black screen. Is that so you've got Batocera gaming rules on a let me just think. Well, first of all, gaming rules. What is it? What's your platform you've actually got Batocera on? Because obviously it's available for PC, just a general computer, Raspberry Pi. So normally a black screen. Yeah, I need to know a bit more about it actually before I can suggest anything. So yeah, the platform you're running it on, and you know, is it just? Have you just flashed the image? Okay, good to see you too, Darius. Is it possible to add EMDB to retrobat in place of Cody? I don't know. I don't know, but it's good to see you as well, Darius. Or good to read from you, one or the other. Okay, so you're running Batocera on Windows then, and you're getting a black screen. So is it a fresh install of Batocera? Have you literally just done it? Have you actually seen any visuals, or have you literally flashed it and you're not getting any picture at all? I mean, to be fair, if you're getting a bit of a pain in the arse with Batocera and you're running Windows, may as well run retrobat. You know, retrobat, in my opinion, is pretty much Batocera, but without having to boot into BIOS every time you want to use it. Okay, so it's a fresh install. So you've got Windows then on your PC, and I take it you're booting into, you're going into your BIOS options to boot into Batocera, is that right? So it gets to the splash screen and it goes black. What I would do, I've had that issue myself in the past. I don't use Batocera too often, but I have had situations where I do get the same. Sometimes it's down to your burning software to flash or flashing software rather. So obviously it's Etcher or there's actually Win32 Disk Imager. So if one of them fails, Etcher or Disk Imager, try the other one. And I'm even sure you can actually use, I might be wrong, I'm sure though, you can actually use Raspberry Pi Imager to flash that onto whatever. Hello, Janek. How you doing? I got retrobat and I'm really happy with it. Could it be the USB? You see, the trouble is with flashing that type of thing, there could be multiple reasons. Like I say, with Batocera, you would go into BIOS to boot from your USB device, and of course, there could. I was going to say there could be a security option within your BIOS, but your BIOS options, your BIOS screen is going to be different from mine. But since you're actually getting past the splash screen, it wouldn't be that. So I would say it's either your USB stick or your flashing software. You were $1 American. Hello, Jay. So, like I say, gaming rules, you got two different situations to look at there. It could be the USB device you're using. Personally, when I've done tutorials for Batocera, it's normally been on a trying to think of the USB sticks I use. Uh, red and black, red and black. I can't think of the names. Asus. So you've got an Asus. Oh, okay. So yeah, I've also used an Asus. That's what I'm talking on right now. My pride and joy. This laptop I love. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Crazy to think that there was one day going to be Asus-based computers, or yeah, crazy stuff. But yeah, absolutely the best. So, anyways, going back to Batocera, I'm trying to think for the life of me of the USB stick I use. Oh, you know what? Argos sell them. Let's just bear with me a sec. In fact, I will point you to where I actually USB sticks I actually use or I have used in the past for Batocera. SanDisk, that's the one. So yeah, personally, I've had good success using SanDisk Ultra. Obviously, you can buy these off Amazon. Argos is very expensive, so always leave them to the last resort. SanDisk. Okay. Yeah, SanDisk. Okay, so in terms then of H logo, mine is a H logo. See, if you've got a USB device which is unbranded, there's a and it's used, maybe you've used it to death, there's going to be particular files which don't get transferred properly. So, with things like batocera, it's always worth just investing a little bit more money just to get something decent. Um, yeah, exactly. Jay also agrees. SanDisk, they've been around for years. They're very well trusted, but just do yourself a favor. Don't be buying USB or SD cards from eBay because there's a hell of a lot of fakes around. You can spot a fake media device very easily. The transfer rate is ridiculously slow, like ridiculously slow. And you also find that whatever's transferred to your fake USB drive, you plug it back in to find nothing's there. Also find a better quality, better and more constant performance you're getting with the Raspberry. Yeah. Let me just go on to these different flashing software. So of course you got Bellina Etcher, which is not spelled like that. So we got Bellina Etcher, and I'm pretty sure this is the one I normally recommend in setup guides for batocera. Very, very good program, but it's not entirely perfect because some people find that for some reason it don't burn correctly, in which case you've got the Mega Win32 disk imager, and you can get that just here. So, like I say, try another flashing software, and you never know, you might be in for a bit of luck just there. And I just want to say, whilst I think of it, if anyone wants to donate to me for the support I give, advice I give, videos, that type of thing, if you fancy do it, please send it just there to that PayPal. I'll just link that in there. I'm always appreciative of support to my channel. And yeah, so anyway, I'm going to put a stop to Batocera now. And yeah, you're right, J Mac. I just read that and I thought, yeah, Rufus. Always remind me of a C64 game called Reckless Rufus. So yeah, there's three potentials out there. Rufus is, or Rufus, I'm not actually sure how you pronounce it, but let me just show you. Rufus Imager. Rufus create bootable USB. So yeah, I totally forgot about that. So thanks for mentioning that. But this is another really good um, bit of software you can flash things onto. It's kind of a bit more technical, I suppose, compared with some other software doing the same thing, but it's pretty easy. Yeah, I've used this one in guides in the past, and yeah, no idea, I just forgot about that. So I'm going to say it now because I've got more people here viewing. You won't see many videos from me lately. I've been currently helping somebody in the background, not the background behind me. Someone wanted a front end setup. They had, and I'm going to say this. I made a video a while back. Somebody, I'm not going to say who because that's unfair, but somebody, it seems, paid a lot of money for a hard drive of some sort. And like I've said in the video in the past, if you buy these preloaded drives, Hyperspin this, Mega that, Super Console this, it's very likely at some point something's going to break. Your audio's going to go, your visual's going to go, something isn't going to work. And then you're at the point of, what's actually broken down? And this is why I always advise on people learning themselves rather than relying on someone who's charging too much. So, anyways, this person come to me and he told me about it, and yes, I connected to his computer using TeamViewer just here, and his setup was a mess. So I've been spending the last couple of days getting him up together with launchbox, and that's been taking a long time. Well, good couple of days. How much can I donate to? get a tutorial done. Well, so I mean, what sort of tutorial is it you want done? Normally, what I say for those type of videos is really I need to just know how long it might take. Obviously there's going to be complex tutorials and there might be very easy ones. So really that type of thing, it goes down to how long I would take on it. I don't like ripping people off, so I just charge what's fair really. At the end of the day, I'm kind of doing something I enjoy doing, and I'm also uh, helping you out. So it's a win-win situation, really. Okay, have you created a front end theme before? If you can make a video one. I've not actually done that yet, Wesley, to be honest, but there's plenty of guides on YouTube. The reason I've not done it is because I'm so bogged down with new setup guides. I mean, some I have been focusing on lately, if any of you've seen it, is the Retro Hub front end. Absolutely superb. I randomly come across Retro Hub a couple of weeks ago, and it's fairly popular. And it's surprising how it's not actually out there as a decent front end, but it's very good. So Jay, yeah, like I was saying, normally I aim to get 2 or 3 videos out a day, and traditionally that's the case. But I don't think you was here, but we've had a hell of a lot of problems with the neighbours, or a particular neighbour smashing windows. The community has recently got together as a collective, and it seems like they're getting their house closed down at some point for. I won't go into it, or I did a stream on it the other night, but I'm just gonna say they've been preventing me from doing videos of all the noise they're making. It's just not possible to quietly sit down with a microphone and do stuff. So, anyways, at some point, these idiots are going to be evicted, and I'm going to say I really can't wait. And I think people's literally going to have some sort of celebration when they get evicted. I certainly am. I can't wait. Um, to do a hello cartoon craze. How you doing, man? Okay, to do a tutorial for Auto Bleem, that supports Auto Bleem. Auto Bleem, that's something to do with PlayStation, I think, isn't it? Auto Bleem, I'm sure that is something to do with PlayStation or PS1 Classic. Auto Bleem, it does sound very familiar. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, Auto Bleem's tournament. So, well, first of all, I can't actually do that anyways because I don't own a PlayStation Classic. Reason being is because I don't have time. I mean, I've got a couple of I've got an Amiga Mini. I've also got a C64 Maxi. I've got a Pi 400. I did have a PlayStation Classic when they came out, but I was just so underwhelmed by it. And to be honest, if I wanted to play a PlayStation game, I would rather do it on something like RetroArch and play around with video settings. Whereas on a PlayStation Classic, you're kind of limited. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, Cartoon Craze. It's good to have you here. So yeah, what I've been saying for anyone who's just subscribed is yeah, I've been very busy lately doing bits and pieces, decorating this place where we live, buying random, well not random, 80s posters and put them in frames. So we got Back to the Future. We have got Labyrinth. And one of my all-time favorite horrors of the 80s, we have got Fright Night. And if you're into 80s horror films, you've not seen Fright Night, seriously, this is the shit to watch. Not the second Fright Night, but definitely the first one. The soundtrack to this I had on vinyl years ago, and by far is one of probably the best 80s soundtracks for a film ever. Absolutely superb. Really recommend it. And of course, we have got the mighty aliens. Really, really annoying with this. I like aliens, but I'm more of an Alien fan. It's in the original 1970, 1977, 78. But the issue is with these prints is that just like any printer, you're going to get good prints, you're going to get bad prints. And I read reviews on the original Alien poster, and the reviews were bad. So I thought, well, let's just go for the sequel. So there you go. So yeah, I've been decorating, well, trying to decorate the flat, and yeah, just painting miniatures as usual. I bought quite a lot of those lately. I shouldn't have done, but today I bought this Blood Bowl second season edition. I've never actually owned a copy of this, even in the 90s. It never happened. I was in the nerd shop today, or as I call it, the nerd shop, because let's face it, people that buy these things and paint these things were nerds. No shame of it, whatever. But I thought, let's go for Bloodsport. I played the game of it on and off over the years on Xbox, on whatever. And I thought, I love painting miniatures. That's my hobby. Well, let's give Bloodsport second season edition a go. So, you're so cool, Brewster. Awesome, man. You know what? The best scene ever from Fright Night. In fact, talking about Fright Night, let's just pretend that remake with Colin Farrell never happens because that was shocking, like pretty bad. What was I saying? Yeah, the best scene from the original Fright Night, 1985. Yeah, 1985 film was the disco scene. How amazing was that scene? You got music in the background going on in just absolute epic cinema going on just there. So always be proud to be a nerd, without a doubt. Don't have no shame in it. But at the same time, don't be one of these people who's tried to cash in on the so-called nerd phase. You got to wear glasses so you look like a nerd type. I wear glasses because my eyes need them these days because I'm getting old. Don't be fooled. Not everyone's a nerd. They think it's a trend, so they'll wear glasses and they'll appear to like retro gaming for 5 minutes, and then they're a nerd. I had the hots for it back then. Had the hots for who? Oh, what was her name in Fright Night? The girl, Amy. Amy, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean there. You know what? My mum had the hots for the vampire, Jerry Dan. No, not Jerry Dan. Was it Jerry Dandridge? Jerry Dandridge was the yeah, it was. But it takes so long. Jerry Dandridge. You know what? I've not seen Fright Night for some time. Yeah. And then obviously you've got Evil, who was pretty irritating, I suppose. But yeah, wasn't a big fan on Evil. It was good when he died, and that was it. And that transformation scene where he turns into a wolf was pretty cool as he flies over that banister with that wooden thing in him. Yeah, Jerry Dandridge, the vampire. Now, trust me, Smooth, if you've not seen the Colin Farrell reboot of it, don't go there. It's a lot like, oh, I don't know, what's a bad Nightmare on Elm Street film, the remake. A lot like that. Not as bad as Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, but yeah, not much better. There's a reason these films have got a name for themselves. They're classics. No one's ever going to beat these classics, and it will never likely happen. So let's be honest. There's an A-Team reboot when I was in Blockbuster, maybe 13 or 14 years ago, it was big at the time, but it soon got forgotten about. But yeah, everyone still seems to remember the certain age the series, the 80s series. Yeah, Jay, seriously, you need to watch Fright Night again. Bring a bit of childhood back. It's awesome. Like such a great film. And you know what? In its defense, the sequel wasn't too bad. It was just I say a bit unnecessary, but I suppose because of the popularity of the original one, it was a massive hit in its day. There's going to be a sequel, and that's the way it is. But certainly better than the reboot of Friday Night without a doubt. And it also had the old bloke in it who played Peter Vincent. Interesting stuff. If you're a big fan of horror films, Hammer horror films from the 60s, you've got Peter, who's after Peter Cushing, and the Peter Vincent, and the Vincent is after Vincent Price, who obviously two famous British horror actors of the 60s, 50s, 60s. So yeah, I was watching a documentary a long time ago, and I always remembered that. Very clever. Is anyone like Clifford the Big Red Dog, which is related to retro emulation? Well, to be honest with you, Smooth, most things in these streams, what I talk about, when others talk about, aren't really about retro emulation most of the time. Clifford the Big Red Dog. Yeah, so Rasp, like I say, you've just joined, I presume. I've been so flat out recently. I've been so busy doing things in the background. I do a thing in the background where I help people. I use a program here called TeamViewer, and I connect to their computer and I set up their emulators, that type of thing for them. So yeah, that's a thing I do from time to time if someone wants that. Um, yeah, yeah, you know what? The Evil Dead remake, what's that? Probably 2012-ish, something like that. It wasn't actually that bad. And the Evil Dead Rise, Jesus Christ, man, what a great film. The reason it was a great film is because it was by Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi in the background. Of course, the original couple, going right back to the original Evil Dead film. You'll get random actors and actresses nowadays, or even random directors, and he's like, "You're doing all this for like why are you even doing this? You ain't got passion in it." And that's proved with the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. What a load of crap that was. It's like bring back Robert England. You know, he might be knocking on. He's probably in his early 80s at this point, but some makeup on, he'll soon be into that role again. Awesome. Yeah, you know what? When I was a kid cartoon, I would happily say I was a horror fan. But I think to myself today, I like to be considered a horror fan, but I'm not really. The reason being is because the world of horror is totally terrible nowadays. There isn't much coming out, like films in general. The only thing I do rave about, to be honest, horror-wise, is Terrifier. Everything else is very much forgettable nowadays. Nothing seems to hold it rewatchability, rewatch value or anything anymore. Hello, Nicholas. How you doing? So yeah, you know, it's a problem a lot of people have. So modern films, modern music, even modern games, it's just getting boring. It like boring. Yeah, Splatterhouse was great. Of course, Splatterhouse that was well, it's on several platforms. PC Engine had it. What did I used to play it on? I think I played it on Meg. Yeah, I had it on Mega Drive too. Splatterhouse 2 on the Mega Drive. I had that on. The remake of it. I got a feeling I rented it out from Blockbuster when I worked with them, and I don't think I was impressed. I was probably as impressed with that as I was the Alter Beast reboot. No, the Golden Axe reboot, rather. Yeah, you know what, Smooth? Really, in my opinion, I think the only film which is gonna hold in quality and be remembered in the last probably 15 years is probably Terrifier. They're great films. They're brutal, and somebody's clearly knowing that the horror scene is just looking diabolical nowadays, and someone's had the balls to actually go all the way with it to be shocking, which is what horror is meant to be in the first place. For years, I just think horror films they're kind of like infused with thriller, but just boring, just so boring. But anyways, that's my opinion. And you know, I say to Mrs. quite a lot, it's like, wouldn't it be nice to sit down and watch a new film? There isn't anything to watch. You know, the only thing which is popular today, anything coming out, is series on Amazon and Netflix. If you don't like that sort of thing, you're buggered. So that's me buggered. Okay, do you ever play Sparrows? I'm a fan of the horror genre. Yeah, you know what? A film which is one of my personal childhood nasty films was Bad Taste by Peter Jackson. Way before he was doing Lord of the Rings, he did Splatterhouse, not Splatterhouse. He did Bad Taste, and he did Brain Dead or Dead Alive, depending on what part of the world you're in. But what a couple of gore fests, and you can see where something like Terrifier came from with films like that. Cool. Let's have a look. So, yes, I'm going to say it again, just absolutely flat out at the moment, like really flat out. And if anyone likes watching my content as I normally upload, I am sorry, but yeah, just I can't always do it. I like to do it. The thought of uploading videos every day is there, but I've only got two pair of hands. No, one pair of hands. I've enjoyed a lot more TV than movies. Yeah, you're probably right. Right. The thing I've noticed obviously you've got Beverly Hills Cop, and you know full well if you're at the age, Beverly Hills Cop was a massive, massive cinema film. The second one was also massive. Obviously, the third one was a bit of a flop, but I never had an issue with the third one. But the weird thing is how times have changed. Beverly Hills Cop 4 is on the way. It's not going to the cinema, it's actually going to stream. It's like, what's the film world coming to? This is like a major franchise. So when you say in terms of TV, yeah, I agree. And randomly out of the blue the other day, I just noticed there's a new Bad Boys film out. So I was like, where the hell did this just appear from? I don't even think I watched the third Bad Boys. I think I watched the second one, and that was it. But to be fair, I was never a Bad Boys fan, and dare I say it, but I've never been particularly sold on Will Smith. I think the only good thing Will Smith ever did was Boom Shake the Room. And that was probably it. Yeah, so PT, it was a demo which was, I think, something to do with Silent Hill. And it came on PlayStation Network during the PS4 era. You could download it and then they pulled it off of the store. If you look on eBay now, it's quite likely someone's got it on their PS4 and they're trying to sell their PS4 with this PT demo on it for like a fortune. So, yeah, I'm sure PT, it was something to do with Silent Hill, but yeah. It is. It's a weird shift of change, but you're right. In terms of investment, that type of thing, in money wise, finances, everything seems to be bigger budget in TV shows. I mean, something like Breaking Bad. Um, y- it started off slow, but I think come the second or third series of Breaking Bad, it was a massive, massive success. It was all over the place, and you could see the quality of its storytelling was by far better in films at that time. Really good storyline. But yeah, it's tragic. You know what? You might have heard of it, people, but The Fall Guy released a couple of months ago. And I think to a younger generation, even my partner actually, who's a couple of years younger than me, she didn't realise that The Fall Guy was actually a remake of an 80s series, an American 80s series. And I only know that truthfully because my brother used to love The Fall Guy. My brother's 5 or 6 years older than me. But anyways, we watched The Fall Guy, the reboot of it with Ryan Gosling, which I quite like, good actor. But the film, oh, it's just pants. What's your favourite horror game series? Mine has to be Resident Evil series. Well, to be honest with you, as weird as it sounds, I'm not really a horror game fan. The closest I'd probably get to saying horror games would likely be the Alien games. I mean, Alien Isolation, what a great game. Um, but like I say, not strictly horror, sort of more straight sci-fi slash horror. But Silent Hill I was never entirely sold to. I remember when the first one came out, just like I remember when the first Resident Evil game came out back in the day. People would like turn all their lights off with their PlayStation. It's like, oh, let's get spooked out playing Resident Evil. And I was with a friend at the time, and he rented out Resident Evil for his, I think it was his Sega Saturn. No, it was PlayStation. And he said, "Oh, let's turn the lights off, Jamie." And it's like, why? It's just a game, man. It's not scary. Have you ever been to the arcade in Bury? No, I am. Bury. I'm not even sure where that is, to be honest, Rasp. But yeah, going back to TV shows, without a doubt, there's more investment going into TV shows nowadays. It's only a matter of time, I think, before Baywatch makes a big comeback. I think a lot of teenage boys would like that, wouldn't they? Yeah. Let's just hope Pamela Anderson don't come back here at her age, what she is now. Resident Evil. Yeah, let's see. Resident Evil. I think the last Resident Evil game I played was it was Village. I'm sure it was. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Personally, I think Resident Evil games they have got better over the years, without a doubt. And I had a little brief go on the remake of Resident Evil 4, which didn't seem bad. Yeah, you know what, Mike? The Fall Guy, like I say, it was well before my time, technically. By the time I was born in 1983, the Fall Guy was likely finished with. I'm not sure. Like, so I'm not a Fall Guy fan, but my brother was when he was a kid, apparently. The A Team, I used to be all over that as well as Knight Rider. And technically, those weren't really my time, but I watched it in the late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, I used to love the A Team and Knight Rider, awesome stuff. And you know what? There was also another series, American series back then in those sort of early 80s. It was called Nighthawk, and that's been well forgotten about. Um, yeah, again, bit I suppose a bit more of my brother's time. I remember we had some Nighthawk wallpaper at one point in yeah. It's the North Europeans' largest arcade, just right at Bolton. We're not in Europe, Rasp. Yeah, I do remember Smooth, Resident Evil 5. It was very different. I think Resident Evil 5 wasn't that set in Africa, and all of a sudden the dark atmosphere had gone. It was all bright and light. Yeah, I did play that one. And instead of being dark, dismal buildings during it was actually out in the sunshine. Yeah. And there was also, what was it? Operation Raccoon City, I think it was Raccoon City. And as much as much crap as that game got, I actually thought it wasn't a bad shooter. Yeah, obviously not your traditional Resident Evil game, but Operation Raccoon City, whatever it was on the PS3 360. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Not bad. And let's not forget about those odd games which came out. Was it on the Wii U and the PS3 again? It was Resident Evil. Oh, what were they called? Something about a ship. There's been so many now over the years. You know, you got the Chronicles and a couple, the Dark Side Chronicles on the Wii. But the two I'm talking about, I can't think what they're called. Like I said, there's been so many of them over the years. Nemesis. Yeah, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis. Um, yeah. I remember buying Resident Evil Director's Cut on the PlayStation 1. I bought that in WH Smith in Bristol back in the day. And at the time, I think it was something like 29.99. I thought this game better be good. And it was okay. Like I said, I played it prior with my friend around his house, and then I thought, let's actually try this again on my own rather than having some boy like do a little cheap screams, like pretending it's scary when it really wasn't. I mean, really, how can you scream at polygon dogs like chasing after you? There wasn't much scary about it. Operation Raccoon City, yeah, I think it was underrated. That's why I enjoyed that one. But wouldn't it be great if we was in those times now where games were actually worth playing? As I always say, PlayStation 3, for me, was the last best era for decent exclusive games. And obviously, Raccoon City wasn't an exclusive, but good God, on PlayStation 3, it was just exclusive after exclusive. There were some absolute amazing games on the PlayStation 3, and that's why the PlayStation 3 is quite likely my favorite console of all time. Is yeah, just absolute the dog's bollocks that was. And if you say you're an Xbox 360 fan, I'm not your friend. So yeah, it's that simple. Yeah, the PlayStation 3 in many ways it was superior to the 360. To my knowledge, and as I remember, the 360 coming out, originally it didn't even have HDMI on it. I don't think it did. You had to buy a separate add-on for the HD DVD films to work. Obviously, you had the red light of death, or rather the chip failure, because Microsoft didn't put enough thermal paste on the CPU or GPU. So all the kids at the time were saying, the red light of death, no, the red ring of death. The PlayStation 3 was superior. PlayStation 3 it never had any issues like that. Revelations, that's the one. Right. But yeah, I got to admit, when the 360 came out, it wasn't on my list of things to buy at the time. The only reason I did buy one originally was for Perfect Dark Zero, and I knew that game had a lot of criticism. But I thought Perfect Dark Zero wasn't a bad game. It certainly looked nice at the time, especially when you're on top of the roof at the start of the game and the sky. Yeah, it looked really nice at the time on LCD TV at the time. Obviously, this is going back 15, 17 years ago. So those those screen TVs were a fairly new thing at the time. And yeah, you pair that up with a PS3 or 360, and it looked good at the time. Yeah, so Revelations, I know the games. I think I played the first one at some point, but I just gave up with it for some reason. My history of games is normally buy loads of them, play each one for 5 minutes, and then forget about them. That's how I roll. Yeah, there's a reason, Rafs, that the PlayStation 3 best Blu-ray player. It just makes sense, you know. Sony, you know, what are Sony good at? Sony are good at DVD players, Blu-ray players, music. So it's a no-brainer. You know, of course, the PS3 in terms of media is going to be better, surely. And inside of the 360, the disk drives they were using at the time were some dodgy Chinese rubbish. I remember opening up one once to do a mod on it, and I remember opening up the drive on it, and it's like, really? And then, of course, on the 360s, you had the sticky disc, and it's like, yeah, 360, what a shoddy experience. Yeah, literally, Nicholas. I think there's actually a new Perfect Dark game coming out. It's been in development for a little while, bit like the new James Bond game. It's been spoken about, but it's not materialized yet. Jet taking off. You know what? You're right about the PlayStation 4, but most modern day consoles are pretty noisy. And let's face it, if they didn't chuck so much advanced hardware inside of tiny small cases, it wouldn't be breathing for air because that's what the PS4 is doing. It's not got enough room for circulation, airflow inside. So it just sounds like, yeah, jet. But to be honest, when I had a PS4 originally, I didn't really notice it, to be honest. So I'm not even sure if that was a thing with every PlayStation 4. It likely could have happened with certain PS4s where people didn't look after them properly and they didn't clear out dust out of the vents. So, you know, fair play to it. I talk about tiny little cases for consoles with lots of hardware inside. The Wii is terrible as the Wii really was, although it had a fair good few games on it, as bad as it was, that thing had a hell of a lot of hardware inside it. Didn't really hear about Wii's breaking down. Not really. And Wii as well, they were superb for modding. Really good stuff. Latest Xbox show was badass. I've not watched it, to be honest. E3s and everything like that. I don't really watch those sort of things. The closest I get to those is likely when Nintendo does those type of shows because I'm a Mario fan and I have been for years. And when a new Mario game gets announced, I get really excited. And like I say, it's just one of those things. I literally go out my way to buy a console specifically to play a Mario game. And I used to do that with Sonic as well. So when the new Sonic game came out, and I didn't have the console for it, I was like, I need this console. I need to play this game. So, anyways, I'm going to say it again, but if anyone wants to donate support, just Jamie, just because you can, and because I'm so cool and everyone loves me, you can donate just here. And I'm always grateful for whatever people sends. It supports and it encourages me to get you more videos. So it benefits everyone. So what I'm going to do is just go outside because I can and have a cigarette. So I'm going to take you all outside with me. Let's hope my lappy isn't dying. Oh, so if you're not familiar with it, this is the hood. That is North Yorkshire hood. Yeah, people ask me a lot. They say, "Do I play games?" That type of thing. To be honest with you, not really. Not anymore. I've probably got as much faith in modern day games as I do with films and music nowadays. Just nah. But yeah, I just wish I did have more time to play games. When I do play games, like I say, it's normally new Commodore 64 games or maybe some new Amiga games. I just don't really have the time. Project I want to do before the year is out was actually build myself another arcade machine, which at some point, if I get around to doing that, I'll make a video on it. I've done a couple of bar tops in the past, and they're actually fun to make. So yeah. But this time, I actually want to build a full size arcade machine. The trouble is with those, it's the actual MDF, which is the expensive part. You can stencil your own designs, of course, but really, it's probably just best to buy some pre-made flat packs. So yeah. Then obviously you need the vinyl and the stickers to want the skins, and they're not as badly priced as you'd think, and you can get some really nice prints as well for them. RAS, there is nothing much wrong with the Amiga 600, but as you know, it's just an Amiga 6, Amiga 500, pretty much just in a smaller case. If the Amiga 600 was released today, they wouldn't have called it a 600. They would have likely have called it the Amiga 500 Slim. Uh, but personally, I thought the Amiga 600 looked a lot nicer than the 500. Of course, the 500 model Amiga, it was massive, like absolutely massive. And to make matters worse, you need to put the modulator into the back of it, which made it even longer. And yeah, it didn't look well on a desk back in the day. But thankfully, the Commodore 128, which was almost the same size as the Amiga 500, didn't have that irritating modulator in the back of it for sound output. I know. Eh? So, yeah, this window just here, if anyone missed the studio night, this is what our delightful neighbours did with their smackhead friends, their customers. So, anyways, that's being dealt with. Yeah, so the 600 model, it's amazing in different ways. If you have got a 600 and you don't have one, get a CF card put in there. You can actually use WinUAE to set up your own operating system for use on a real Amiga, and obviously the 1200 is the best model. If you're a real Amiga fan, yeah, 1200 all the way. Get yourself a CF card in there. They're a bit irritating, a bit fiddly to do, but having said that, you can actually buy those pre-made off of eBay. I think I did that years ago with my 1200. To be honest with you, Pandora's boxes, from what I see of them, they're a bit naff. And personally, I would keep away from that. I would personally just buy myself a fairly good £200 mini PC and run that rather than a crappy Pandora box. Like I say, for what I've seen of them, they're not that impressive. Joystick wise, joystick and the buttons on them seem okay, but no, I'd rather have something I can customize myself, and you can't really seem to do that with Pandora's. Yeah, I'm gonna get a full size machine at some point. It'll be nice. But quite literally, I probably wouldn't play it. Like I said, I don't really play games. Not really. I just like talking. I like the idea about games. But in reality, I spend more time painting models nowadays than playing games. So, if any of you just seen, I actually bought today the Blood Bowl second season. And for old schools out there, Games Workshop fans, you'll probably remember Blood Bowl being a thing in the Games Workshop. Of course, over the years, there's been video games of it, and they're not bad. Blood Bowl 3 just came out. And, anyways, I never owned Blood Bowl, so I thought, yeah, let's just do it. It's either that or get the new version of Epic. If you're into Games Workshop, or if you're not into Games Workshop, Epic miniatures are tiny, like really tiny, so tiny I didn't end up buying it because I thought I like detailing miniatures. That's my favorite bit of it. And you can't really do much detailing with these tiny, tiny little miniatures. I mean, let's face it, your average Games Workshop miniature is small enough, but to have it so small, it's like, what's the point? 8-bit machines, I have over the years. As of now, if you count Retro Games Limited C64 Maxi, an 8-bit, or yeah, 8-bit wise, that's all I've got. Over the years, really, I've owned it all. Early 90s, like I say, was definitely the best time to buy micros. I always had a passion for 8-bit micros, even as a kid. I used to go to car boot sales with my dad, and my mum used to say to me every Sunday, no, no computers today. And guaranteed I'd come in with a load of crap from the 80s, looking back at it. I went from everything from the BBC Micro to Atari 800s to Acorn Electrons, pretty much you name it. I bought it at a car boot sale. Great period to buy them because no one wanted them back then, and there wasn't this so-called retro gaming craze where people was charging the earth for these things. I always remember one particular car boot sale in Bath. Bath, obviously Bath, however you pronounce it. Proper Bristolian IB, so I say Bath. It was about to rain, and there was a seller, and this seller, she had this massive box. It had a Spectrum 48K inside it, and it was a massive box full of cassette games. And it was starting to rain, and you could see they was packing up. And I said to her, "How much do you want for it?" And she said, £1. I'm like, "Yeah, get in there." So yeah, that was me happy that Sunday. Not that happy though, because it didn't actually come with a tape deck. And at the time, there was no internet, so I wasn't actually sure how to load anything, what tape deck I needed. But yeah, good times for buying that sort of thing. Oh, it's probably my fault for talking outside, is it? Makes a bloody change for me to make a noise outside. Mm, mm. You know what? The funny thing is, if he came round here and started loading this, I'm making a noise. Ironic. Yeah, I wouldn't even bother Becky speaking about it. Hello, Von Groot. Great content. I do try. I try very hard. But apparently I got full subscribers. That's a bit of a rumor, which I think coming went very very quickly. So yeah, of course. I hope you people are false. I hope you're not bots or whatever. I really hope. ZX Mint for £3. Bargain. So yeah, good times for buying micros of the 80s. You know what? The last car boot sale I went to was where I live, local racetrack. It's got one up here. I went with my dad actually. It's been years at that point, and it's like, no. To me, car boot sales, they lost their way. There's far too many dealers. They don't like um going any less, even if it's 2 pence. They can't stand the thought of that. So it's like, no, that era's gone. So of course, everything collectibles from the 80s and 90s is old, and there's always going to be a craze for collectors of vinyl records or probably VHS nowadays seems to be pretty collectible for some people. So yeah, if you like your Commodore stuff or Groot, I could talk a good few hours with you right now, but I don't want to do everyone's headed about Commodore because I do that very regular on my streams. But yeah, if you like Commodore and you've got a A500 Mini, if you're not aware of it, there's a program or something you can put onto USB device for the 500 Mini called Amiga Game Selector. And in fact, so I think of it, uh Bear with me. I did a couple of videos when I got my 500 mini. They're just here. So we got AGS, and this is the one I'm talking about. So if you're not aware of it. Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to set up the latest distribution of Amiga Game Selector for the A500. There you go, come out my mouth in the previous video. Check this video out. Amiga Game Selector. I think that one's actually all now. It says 2.5. I think there's actually a version 3 out, or I could be wrong. Check it out. It's awesome. Like the best thing you'll do for your 500 mini. Resolution is not right. So the trick is with that, with the resolution, I think if you press F12, that'll bring you into the WinU AE, or is it no, it's WinU AE. It'll bring you into the WinU AE menu. Amiga Game Selector, I'm pretty sure it's that one, which is based on WinU AE. If you go into WinU AE, just go to Display, and you'll likely see your resolution options there. Just make sure to save it. God damn, it's got dark all of a sudden. Something else to consider on the A500 Mini is I've not done it myself yet. I've not done a video on it, but if it's your thing, there is a way to play other systems on the A500 Mini. I think PlayStation 1 is possible, but it's not something I've done. The Atari Pro, wasn't that the Atari 7800? If it is, no. I I was brought up at a young age with my mum and dad's Atari 2600, and then obviously you have the 5200 after that, which was a flop in its day. And I'm pretty sure the 7800 wasn't extremely popular either. But yeah, as a kid, my mum and dad, they had a 2600. They had the Darth Vader model, the all black model, really smart. In fact, I bought one around 15 years ago when I ended up giving it back to I gave it to my mum and dad. They lost theirs or whatever happened to it. My brother had it actually. So I goes, there you go. And one of the games which I gave him with it was Berserk. And, for a really basic game, Berserk is actually surprisingly really good. Yeah, Pandori is the system for the 500 Mini, which, yeah, you can, like I said, I'm pretty sure you can play PS1 on that. But yeah, good God. Amiga wise, Commodore 64 wise, on my channel, there really isn't much I haven't covered with emulation. I've done all your generic WinUA setup guides, FSUA. I even did a setup guide for the Denise emulator, which is a really good emulator. Not as good as WinUA, but you can see it's got potential. Yeah, you know what? Being born in 1969, you would have been spot on to see that computer explosion in the late 70s, early 80s, and I just wish I could have seen all that. Sadly, really, I was, I suppose, the console era, which, yeah, I, yeah, it's all about microcomputers to me. Any micro from the 80s, just always a lot of nostalgia. I think everything from the quirkiness, the bizarreness of games, neon flashy colors of sprites. There's just something really nice. The SID chip on the C64 is just very nostalgic, and it would have been a great fun time. It was a great fun time, in fact, because things were new, things were very experimental at that point, and they weren't so standard like they are today. And that's why I find games today incredibly boring because there isn't much in terms of experimentation like there once was. Every now and again, you'll get your oddity, but not too often. So, you also had the Ouya. When people talk about retro gaming, people forget a lot about the Ouya, which came out. And of course, that was an Android. Was it Android based or Linux? One or the other. It had potential, but it kind of got forgotten about very quickly because the games you were supposed to buy on the Ouya was actually becoming more popular on Android phones or iPhones. I think if the Ouya would have been released maybe 5, 6 years prior to phones becoming better with playing games, it might have got somewhere. But Oyas, they're actually surprisingly good for emulation. And I think they're still fairly cheap as well to buy. And it's a bit of a shame that system kind of got forgotten about. I remember when my kids were small, I had one when they first came out, and the indie games which was on there, there was a game my son would play on it at the time. It was something like Amazing Frog. I can never remember the name of it, but it was based in Swindon, which is a place in England down south of where I'm from. You played this frog, and this frog, it just you couldn't stand him up. It was like a gimp or something, like a gimp frog. But anyway, my son could play it, and I played it a little while back just to see what the fascination was. And you could not get that frog. It was like constantly drunk or something. But yeah, I think the purpose of that amazing frog game was to like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just very random. It's random. It's Goat Simulator, which my son still likes today. So got to use the Doomday project at school on the BBC Master with huge laser discs. Whoa, that sounds pretty fancy. Yeah, going back to collecting, got laser disc collectors as well. And I remember laser discs being sold in Virgin megastores, and they was always interesting. Visually, obviously, vinyl records look sexier than what CDs ever did, and they sound better too, I think. But you had laser discs, and they weren't too well advertised at the time, and they were pretty expensive. But yeah, and the BBC Master, was it? I think we had the Model B at my first junior school. Don't think it was a Master, but and yeah, I bought going back to card boot sales, I actually bought a fairly cheap. I think it was a Pioneer Laserdisc player at a car boot sale. Got it very cheap, and it had loads of films with it. And at that point, I've never watched a Laserdisc film before. And looking back at it now, or at the time, I was almost like, well, this isn't much better than VHS. Only with Laserdiscs, obviously, if you had to watch something like Titanic, which was a 3 hour long film, I think the Laserdisc version had three discs in it. And of course, on each disc, you'd have side A and side B. So that was a total of 5 or 6 times of swapping discs to watch Titanic. What a pain in the ass. But yeah, in terms of collectability, I think laser discs they look lush and yeah. But quality wise, wasn't too sold on it. The film I watched on Laserdisc was Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Great early 90s sort of thriller film. Really good film, that one. Yeah. Saturday Night Fever. So you was getting in that disco like Bee Gees mood. My mother's a big Bee Gees fan. She met Barry Gibb in Miami um, once outside of his recording studio. And obviously, Bee Gees did that soundtrack for the film. And it isn't talked about much, but there's actually a sequel to that film called Staying Alive. And I remember my mum and dad had that one on Betamax when I was very young. So, where are we? Let me just tell everyone if you've not seen them, last couple of videos I uploaded, yeah, I'm going to remind everyone of this. If you've not seen them yet, check out Retro Hub. It's a new, to me, for my channel at least, a new front end, and it's seriously very good. It's in early days of development, but it's fully working. It's free, and it's very cool. Like really nice looking front end for Windows. So I'm going to do a series on it. And I will be getting back to making some videos, likely in a couple of days' time. Like I've been saying, I've been working in the background on someone's launchbox, big box build for him, who's actually in California. So yeah, and I'll mention that again. If that's a service anyone wants, where I connect to your computer to help you fix things, I use TeamViewer just here. If I just open this up, it's very simple. You just download TeamViewer on your end, give me the ID and password, and then I literally just remotely connect to your computer. I see your desktop, and I do things while you watch, or if you've got a computer you don't care about, leave it on all day, and I'll get the job done. Yeah, she did. Actually got a picture of her next to Barry Gibb in Miami. Or yeah, sure it was Miami. Of course, Barry Gibb still lives in Miami. If you're a Fools and Horses fan, there's actually Miami Twice, which was the second part of it filmed in Miami. Barry Gibb made an appearance in it, and I'll tell you something else. If you think that was impressive, I think it was my mum's 40th, or yeah, I'm sure it's her 40th birthday. She invited Barry and the other two before they died to to come to her birthday. They didn't go, but they actually sent her a birthday card with their autographs in it, and it wasn't printed. It was specifically uh, written for my mum by them. You know, my mum's name, blah 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 blah. I mean, how awesome is that? So yeah, Bee Gees, they're not really my cup of tea. Done a couple of decent songs in the 80s, but fair play to them for doing that. They must have loads of old women nowadays like going on it. But for them to do that, to take 5 minutes to buy my mum a card and then sign it and send it to her, how cool is that? Absolutely. So yeah, I'm not sure what Barry Gibb actually does nowadays. I don't know if he does solo stuff or whatever, but obviously the Bee Gees, I'm pretty sure, is long gone. And yeah, must have been a Bee Gees fan since the 70s, obviously during that sort of disco era in the 70s. My mum was well into all that sort of scene, I suppose. And I suppose the Bee Gees was like top of their game for disco during the 70s. And then you had a nice revival with things like Casey and the Sunshine Band. So I think I'm going to call it a night now because I got to say, I'm pretty bloody shattered. I haven't had good sleep lately with these idiots next door. It's just, yeah, really shattered. Bummed out. I don't know what the word is. But like I say, I am going to be back. It will likely, I'm going to try and finish off this man's launchbox, big box build tomorrow. Situation is, he's bought one of these preloaded hard drives, I think, um, and something's gone wrong. And I've literally had to wipe everything minus the games on it and pretty much set up and configure everything using a new fresh install launchbox. And hello, Gary, how you doing? So, trouble is with Launchbox or front ends in general, 75-80% of systems will run fine with RetroArch, and that's very simple to do. But there's other pain in the ass systems like your pinball systems. You got Sega Naomi, Sega Hikuru, and there's all those which takes a lot of time to configure. Bit of a nightmare. So yeah, that's why I've not been doing much. Hello, Mark. Hello, Gary. How you doing? I hate it when this happens. I literally just say, I'm gonna go now, I'm getting a bit tired. And then people comes on, they say hello. There's I need to go. So yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Check out Retro Hub and see what you think of it yourself. So I've done the initial setup guide, and that's preparing you, helping you set up 3 different systems. And I've also subsequently done a couple more guides, including Commodore 64 and Wii. So Retro Hub is something I'm returning back to. Quite likely on Monday you'll see a new video for Retro Hub, and likely Project Arcade as well. I know Project Arcade has got some haters out there, but to be fair, I've got in a lot of subscribers from Project Arcade. People seem to be watching them. It's emulation, it's retro based, so yeah, I'll keep doing it. And there you go. So yes, that's it. You know what? If I'm actually up for it, like I just said, I'm just absolutely shattered at the moment. I'm just having a fucking nightmare with these asshole neighbours we got in, pardon the language, but yeah, causing a lot of distress around the area, and they're pissing me off, and I don't sleep too well. Known burglars and smackheads. Don't trust those people. So yeah, just a lot of stress with them at the moment, smashing our window and stuff. So what do you do? But yeah, tiredness and busy in the background. So like I say, if I feel up to it tomorrow, I might upload something, a new video. But other than that, it'll definitely be on Monday. I do something. I'm playing the WinApe emulator. WinApe, that was Amstrad. Yeah, I covered that one a long, long time ago. WinApe, it was one of the first setup guides I did for the channel. Yeah, not bad emulator. And you've also got Caprice 32, which I also covered for CPC. Before I do go, Mark, let me just tell you, you might have seen it, and you might not have. If you're into Amstrad, I seriously urge you to check this out. Where is it? Yeah, I don't do Amstrad content much, but if you like Amstrad, seriously.
Hello and welcome to the.
So you've got an original 1980s Amstrad CPC advert just there. It's not got Alan Sugar in it. So, anyways, watch this video just here, Mark. And yeah, if you like Amstrad, this is very cool. But anyways, that's it. I really am going now. I'm gonna sit down and open up my blood bowl. I think that's the third time I've showed that off. I'm very excited. I've had it here, sat down for a few hours now. I've not opened it yet. So, anyways, everyone, until next time, stay retro.